So this whole month, this month that culminates with Easter, we are bringing back a term that I brought forth last Easter, but it didn't really take hold. It didn't grab on like I thought it should have, actually. I thought this was a great term. It's something that we can really use, and I brought it out last Easter, and then it just went away. So I thought, how about if we just make it the theme for the entire month this month, and that way we'll really get it in. And that term is having an Easter moment. Now, last Sunday, I asked, can anybody tell me what an Easter moment is? And there was fumbling and mumbling and rattling around, and no, nobody could do it. And then, actually, one of our beloved board members, sitting over there, whose name is Tim, but I won't say who it is, said, if there were chocolate involved as a reward for giving you the answer, then perhaps we would be more cooperative. And, I am not above bribing you, not at all. So there is chocolate this morning. I listen. Little chocolate Easter eggs, very appropriate for this time of year. This is what I'm asking. What is an Easter moment? But you got to, get in the neighborhood of it, at least on the block. I need you at least to be on the block of the, and I saw this first, so we'll try Jeannie, but he's like, I'm the one who suggested chocolate. I want to take it a shot. Jeannie, what is an Easter moment? Okay, that right there deserves that. Okay, all right. We won't go there. We will not go there. All right. Conscious, deliberate.
Deliberate decision to throw your eggs away.
Yeah.
To release something that is no longer serving you. You want me to keep going?
Oh, yeah. Keep going.
I didn't know if Tim wanted to.
Okay, Tim, you want to pick it up from there? That is absolutely on the block. That is... That was a very good throw, wasn't it? Well, I'm sorry the rest of you, they pretty much got it. So, we'll have this available in the Holmes Hall. Let me give you my full definition, okay? Because it's even a little bit more than that. Yes, deliberate conscious choice to let something that does not serve us die so that we can be born anew into three things: a heightened spiritual awareness, a new consciousness, and an expanded way of expressing our divine nature, which is already ours but maybe not expressed, and share our gifts in the world. So you said it, I just am expanding on it. So to consciously let something die so that we can be birthed anew in a new heightened spiritual awareness, a new consciousness, and an expanded way of expressing our divine nature, which is already there, and share our gifts in the world. That is what an Easter moment is. Thank you so much. What we've done every single Sunday is we've had an Easter moment around some topic, and we've had it, we've experienced it, and then we've anchored it in a sacred ceremony or ritual. I said the first Sunday of the month that we don't do that many rituals and ceremonies in religious science as in some other traditions, religious traditions, and so I love it when we create them on our own. And today's sacred activity will be actually a tradition that we do have, which is on Palm Sunday, we do a rose blessing, which is why you're seeing all these roses up here. So the rose blessing will be the sacred activity that we do to anchor in our Easter moment for this morning. So the question is, what is our Easter moment topic for today? And because you're a sharp bunch of people and very awake and aware, you probably have figured out based on the opening song, the opening reading, Reverend Cindy's prayer, that we're going to be talking today about our physical vitality, vibrancy, and health. So I'm going to ask you 3 rhetorical questions. They're questions for self-reflection, not for beating yourself up in any way, or even for answering out loud, but just 3 questions, self-assessment that I want you to think about this morning. And as you're thinking about them, is there a place in any of these where an Easter moment may be appropriate this morning? So the first of my 3 rhetorical questions is, do you have a conscious realization that your body is a temple of God? Do you have a conscious realization that this physical vehicle that you're running around in is actually God's suit? And it is a temple for spirit. Do you have a conscious awareness of that? I love these words, and boy, they are really pointed and I think very powerful, that come from New Thought author Christian Larson and his book, The Pathway of Roses. I just got that. I didn't even get that in first service. Like, oh, Pathway of Roses, perfect. I'm quoting from that today. He's a wonderful New Thought author of decades ago in the Ernest Holmes era. He said, the body is the temple of the Spirit and must therefore receive just as much thought and attention as we give to the Spirit. Wow. To neglect the body is to make real spirituality impossible, because spirituality is a living thing and must have a highly developed vehicle through which this living may be expressed. Spirituality is not simply in thought, feeling, or abstract contemplation. There is no spirituality without the actual coming forth of real soul life. But the life of the soul does not come forth into tangible personal living unless the body is trained to respond to life. To grow in spirituality is to continue to spiritualize the body as well as mind and soul until the visible person is as pure, as strong, as wholesome, and as beautiful as the highest state of divine existence. Whoa, that's a mouthful. It's on page 61 of The Pathway of Roses if you happen to have that book and you want to go back and read it. But I am very taken by the thought when he said to neglect the body is to make real spirituality impossible, because spirituality is a living thing and must have a highly developed vehicle through which this living may be expressed. So I go back to the question, first rhetorical question, do you know consciously that your body is a temple for and of the divine? Question number 2, rhetorical question, not to be answered out loud, but answered in your head, is do you realize that there is a pattern of spiritual perfection at the core of your being, whether you're expressing it or not? Do you realize that there is a pattern of spiritual perfection at the core of your being? At the core of your being. Ernest Holmes, our founder, in 110 ideas, I have a typo, I think it's 101 ideas that make a difference. He said, every time we think of our body, we should think of it as our spiritual body. Think of every organ, action, function of our physical body as being pure and perfect spirit. And think of God as being in us, around us, and through us. Our body is part of the kingdom of God. Therefore, there is a spiritual pattern of perfection at its center. Again, whether we're expressing that or not, that's the spiritual truth. Do we know that? Do we have a conscious, real, true, deep knowing of that? Not as an assumption, not as an opinion, but as a conviction. We were talking in a meeting just yesterday about our faith moving from assumption, like we assume that these things work, or we have an opinion that they do. That's okay too. But the place we want to move to is a conviction that yes, that is the truth. So do we have a conviction that at the center of our core there is a pattern of perfection? Question number 3. Do we have a belief that there is a profound connection between our consciousness, which is, here's another, I have chocolate. Let's just take another opportunity. Why not? Let's take another opportunity for chocolate. It's always good. Consciousness consists of 8 things in my mind. Consciousness definition, according to Michele, has 8 attributes to it. So our consciousness is, give me one, somebody keep count. Deb, would you keep count of these? Values is one, absolutely. Okay, I heard thoughts. Phil, is that really you all the way in the back? Thoughts. So we got, okay, hold on. See, it did. Yes. Beliefs. Boom. Geez. I am so, I just got you guys big time. That came like a bullet, didn't it? Whoa. Beliefs, attitudes, feeling. Okay, there's attitudes. I heard feelings over here. Where did feelings come from? Susan? Actions. Words. That's 7. We got one more. Word. Reaction. Where'd that come from? You, right. Oh. It's not coming. Okay, here you go. Here, Deb. Okay. Oh my gosh. No, it's behind you. Oh my, I've lost my tossing arm. That's clear. Okay. Consciousness is thoughts, feelings, attitudes, values, actions, reactions, spoken word. Feelings, I forgot that. Thoughts, feelings, attitudes, beliefs, values, word, action, reaction. So, do we have a recognition that there's a profound connection between those 8 things, our consciousness, and our physical vitality, vibrancy, and wholeness? Ernest Holmes says, disease can be healed provided you get at its cause and remove it. And by getting at its cause, we mean getting at the mental cause. So 3 things I now don't ask a rhetorical question about. You don't have to answer it out loud, but I really want you to answer it in your own heart. And that is, am I, so we're asking this personally, am I a living embodiment of the spiritual truth that my body is a temple of God, that there is a pattern of perfection at the core of my being, and that there is a connection between my inner consciousness and my outer physical expression? Do I have a living embodiment of those truths? The invitation I'll make in a little bit is if there's a place in there where you don't, that'll be a place this morning for an Easter moment. But I want to address something before we get there. And that is, if you recall, in January, I spoke of this last week, but again, in January, we did a survey of topics you wanted to discuss, either have discussed here on Sunday morning or in a class. And then on the last Sunday of January, we had some question and answers, and I couldn't get to all the questions. And so I took the questions that we didn't address that Sunday and put all that together and created this list to really help guide and direct where we go this year. And the topic of physical vitality and health and healing and wellness was absolutely on the list, just in general. And then there was a very specific question to talk about healthy living, and specifically the question was, please talk about healthy living and what do diet and the food we eat and exercise have to do with it. Yay! So somebody wants me to talk about that. Yay! I'm glad, because I've talked about it before and I've gotten like, don't get in my business. Do not get in my business about what I eat and what I do. Not your business, Michele. Well, somebody wanted me to get in their business, so I have been given permission today to get in your business about this. Several years ago, a dear friend of mine gave me a book called The Blue Zone. Anybody heard of this book who wasn't in first service? You did. Okay, great. It's called The Blue Zone, 9 Lessons of Living Longer from the People Who Have Lived the Longest. And the author, whose name is Dan Buettner, did this comprehensive survey, really, of the world, not just the U.S., but of the world, and found pockets across the world where people live a long time. And those are the blue zones. They're like 7 or 8 pockets where people, I'm talking like live into their hundreds, healthy and vibrant and energetic with their faculties working and, really, really a high level of vibrancy and aliveness. And so this author toured these, he did his research and then he toured these areas and he spoke to people. He interviewed people, and then he compiled what he found were there were 9 commonalities that kind of ran across all these people, regardless of their culture, their religion. Things didn't matter, but these 9 things were consistent. And the first 3 absolutely address the person who wanted me to talk about healthy eating, healthy living, and eating and movement. But I'm going to give you all 9. I'll do it quickly. I promise not to go deep into them because some of them are just like, I just need to say it because we don't need to talk about it. This is what it is. But I wanted to say the very first commonality among the people in the blue zone is movement, physical movement. And what the author found was that those who live the longest engage in regular, consistent physical activity, not bursts of intense physical activity, like, the weekend warrior kind of thing. You go out, you don't do anything all weekend, then you go out and play basketball or football or do something really intense for an hour. No, it's consistent, regular movement. And in fact, people who had movement as part of their work and what they did really were the healthiest and lived the longest. But even if your work doesn't cause you to move, it's so important that we move this temple, this physical vessel, that we move it, and that we do something that gets the heart rate elevated a bit on a regular basis. We do something that helps us hone our balance on a regular basis, and we do something that helps us build strength on a regular, consistent basis. That was the number one thing that was found common in people in the blue zones. Number 2 and 3 are related, so I'll share them together. And this is really where people don't like us getting in your face. So take a breath. I'm just telling you what the results of this survey, if you will, are. And they both have to do with eating and how we eat. So the first one was that people who live the longest tend to take in about 20% fewer calories than the rest of us. 20% fewer calories they intake than the rest of us. And the second eating piece is that they have, and this is a term that the author coined, a plant slant, meaning they eat less meat and processed foods. All 3 of these ideas, the movement and the 2 eating ideas, are also consistent and put in a more blunt way in a book called Younger Next Year. Anybody heard of that book? Younger Next Year. It's a great book, very fun, as a matter, a little bit quite irreverent, but very fun and funny, and a bit in your face about how you might create, feeling even younger next year. And so they said, quite bluntly, and I'm going to quote, so if you're offended, it's the authors, not me, okay? I'm going to quote, "Our advice is basically exercise 6 days a week and quit eating crap." There it is. That's it, right there. You want to live a long time? That's what you do. Move your body and quit eating. Right. All right, let me give you the rest of them just so we have a full picture of all 9. Number 4, and I love these. These are so spiritually related in my mind. Number 4 is live from purpose. Have a purpose in life. People who live the longest live from a place of purpose. Number 5, whatever it takes, relieve stress. So if it's meditation, if it's prayer, if it's walking, outside, whatever it is, do something to relieve stress. Number 6, I love this one particularly. It is belong to a spiritual community. Rock on, you're already doing that. Yay! Belong to a spiritual community. Number 7, recognize the importance of family and loved ones and spend time with them. Hugely important for every single person who was interviewed, or at least statistically enough to show up in the top 9. Number 8, surround yourself with people who share these blue zone values. In other words, find your tribe, find your people, hang with those people. And the final one, number 9, I am a little bit hesitant to share it because in our congregation here, I know we have a lot of folks from the 12-step philosophy who are in the 12-step program. And so I'm a bit hesitant to mention this, but it's one of the 9, so just take a breath. I'm just reporting here. Number 9 is to, in moderation, drink red wine. In moderation. It emphasized that over and over and over. In moderation, people who drink red wine tend to live longer. Now, I please want you to hear this just like loud and clear. Do not tomorrow go to your sponsor and say, my minister just told me on Sunday that I need to start drinking again. No, 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 no. You do what is important for you. Red grape, thank you. Red grape juice has the same tannins, she tells me. So, see, there we go. No, thank you for that. Yeah, right. Darn it. So how we eat, how we move our bodies, being on purpose, having spiritual community, all of those things help us live from a place of recognizing that this is a body temple. And those are ways where we don't neglect it. Remember, again, I want to read it again because I think it's so powerful. Christian Larson's words: to neglect the body is to make real spirituality impossible, because spirituality is a living thing. And we must have a highly developed vehicle through which this living may be expressed. So, the not rhetorical question now this morning is there an Easter moment in there for you? Is there in any of those things that we have just talked about, where you could say, wow, if I let that die, if I let that go, whatever, a way of thinking about my physical vehicle or a way of treating my physical vehicle, if I let that go, would I be born anew in a heightened spiritual awareness about my body's role in my spiritual development? Is there something in the way you think or the behavior that you're having toward this body temple that if you let it die, you would have a new consciousness about the relationship between your internal thoughts and feelings and values and beliefs, etc., and your external physiology? Is there something you could let die that if you did, you would move into an expanded way of expressing your divine nature, which is already perfect, but to express it at a higher level so that you can share in a greater way your gifts with the world? So in just a moment, we're going to have a chance to have an Easter moment. And then we're going to anchor that Easter moment in our sacred rose blessing ceremony. But before we do, I just want to briefly comment and introduce something that we'll actually explore more next week. But I feel very much whenever we talk about physical health and vitality and the relationship between our thoughts and our feelings and our entire science of mind teachings, or new thought teachings, in fact, were founded upon the idea that healing is absolutely possible. And I know that it is. I've seen it happen. And I've also seen someone who appears to be doing everything right, quote unquote, and yet they still get ill, and they still even maybe make their transition. So that feels to me sometimes like an elephant in the room when we're talking about this topic. And I was feeling that when I was thinking about talking today. And so I just want I am aware of that, and I will address that next week, I promise. So just be here next week, and we'll have a lovely, deep, beautiful conversation around that. But today, I just want to invite you into what Easter moment are you, well, I'm not even going to ask you what you're willing to have, because I'm going to invite you into a process to help you identify what that might be. So let me share first a little bit of what's going to happen with the rose blessing, and then we can go into our experience. So if you have children who are in with the youth and you want them to be part of this rose blessing, we would love to have that happen. And so during the solo that will happen after we finish here and before the blessing, if you want to go get your children, or if you have the parent or guardian of children, if you want to go get them, please do that quietly. Go get them. They're expecting you to perhaps come get them, and just bring them into the foyer, and then I'll call you in, and we'll have our families with children come up first and be blessed, and then the rest of us will do it after, okay? All right, so everybody, if you will, close your eyes. And as we learned last week, to fully take an inhale, we want to first exhale. So first, exhale, let go. And then take a nice, deep, full breath in. And just be aware of your breathing. Aware of the inflow and the outflow and the inflow of your breath. Recognize that this is not only a spiritual, a physical activity, but it is also a spiritual activity. Just as the physical air, the physical oxygen in our air gives our body life, so does spirit, which comes, by the way, from the same root word as breath. So does spirit give us life with a capital L. So just be aware of the physical and spiritual experience that you have as you breathe in and out. And in that awareness, I want you to think about your physical vitality, your health, your wholeness, and ask your body a question. And the question to ask your body is this: is there something in the way I think about you, body, or treat you, that were I to let that die today, you would arise with more vitality and vigor and health? One more time, the question is, body, is there something in the way I think about you or the way I treat you that if today I were to let that die, you would rise up into an experience of greater vitality, greater vibrancy, and greater health? Ask your body that question. Please allow the answer to pop in, even if it's an answer that you don't like, because it might be. We might have some resistance to the answer that says, you need to move me more. Please move me more. Please fuel me with better food. Please rest me more. Be willing to listen to your body here. Remember, it is a temple of God, and it deserves to be respected and listened to and honored. So as you have identified something that today you could have an Easter moment about, I want you to just see in your mind's eye that you place that idea, that thing, that behavior, whatever it is, place it in the basket of a hot air balloon. Now, don't you get in the basket with it. You just place it and leave it in the basket. There's a driver in the basket, and he is now going to fire up that balloon. It's going to get untethered from the ground, and it just lifts up. And so you watch this thing that you have this morning said, yes, body, I will listen to you. I am going to let that die this morning. And so you watch the balloon go up and up and up and up. And in a moment, it has gone so high and so far that you don't see it anymore. It's gone. The release has occurred. And so we fill now that space where the release has occurred. We fill that space with the awareness of light and a knowing of who you really are, and a blessing of this physical vehicle so that it can fully express who you really are. And we'll do that in song, and then we'll do that in our rose blessing. But for right now, I simply say, thank you, God, for the release that has here and now occurred, and for that balloon that has taken it away, not to come back, because fully today, the Easter moment is complete. And so it is.